And I'm just going to quickly send that link out to everyone that registered on Luma so people can join. And we'll wait like maybe just a couple 20 seconds and then we'll get started.
Cool.
Cool. Okay, awesome. We have people joining. So I'm going to change the layout back to just us. All right, cool. So, all right, welcome everybody to the Nina's Notes live podcast. I am thrilled to be here with Ariel Garten, and we're going to be talking about her company, Muse. We're going to be talking about neuroscience, reading the brain, and the amazing tools that she has built to help us train our focus and optimize sleep quality, among many other things. So, Ariel, thank you so much for joining me today on the podcast.
My pleasure. Hello, everyone. Awesome to be here.
So let's kick it off by just telling me first a bit about your background and what led you to start Muse and Interaxon, of the larger company that owns Muse. Where did you get the idea, and was it a personal problem maybe?
So I think the brain is a personal problem for all of us.
I agree.
We all have brains, and it's hard to know how to use them best. My own background, I started studying neuroscience in university and then went on to work in research labs, and was very curious about how the brain worked. And I really wanted to help people understand what goes on in their mind and how to optimize it. So I began working with Professor Steve Mann at the University of Toronto, and he had an early brain computer interface system. So he had a single lead EEG that we would slip onto the back of our head, and by shifting our brain state, focusing or relaxing, we would then be able to program lights to get brighter and program music to get softer. And as I was doing that, I realized, like, hey, this is extraordinary. We're literally interacting with the world directly with our brains. Like, our
Yeah.
brain activity is changing the world around us. And to me, this was an incredible metaphor for the power of our own mind. Like, wow, we are such powerful humans. We could just think stuff and have it happen. We can, as we move our brains, we move mountains. Um, and or at least we make things get brighter. Bright ideas.
Yes.
And that began the process of then taking this crazy early technology, this early brain computer interface, and saying, how can we actually make something practical with it? The first big project we did was actually at the 2010 Winter Olympics, and they were held in Canada that year. And I'm from Canada.
Yeah.
And so we had people in Vancouver, where the Olympics were, control the lights on the CN Tower, the Canadian Parliament buildings, and Niagara Falls. There's like lighting on each of these buildings. And we had people focus and relax, shift to their brain state, shift their alpha and beta waves, and use those as triggers to actually change the lights on these big buildings halfway across the country. So it was like this incredible, like, wow, we as a human can, with the power of our minds, do so much. And once the Olympics were over, we're totally high and we're like, this is incredible. Like, we can do all this stuff. But what can we actually do with it? It's not practical to have people control lights on big buildings. We have light switches, and frankly, they do it much more efficiently than trying to like really focus to make a light change. And we tried to figure out what it was that we could really do with this technology that was actually going to empower people in their everyday life, as opposed to in this, like, weird conceptual way. And that's how we hit upon the Muse and what it currently does.
I think that is so fascinating. And the demonstration that you did with the Olympics, with that light control, that's such an amazing way to get people to really understand what it is that's happening, what it is they're doing. It's playful, it's fun. So I saw some videos of this as well. So really well done there, because that is a really impressive way to just interact with the Olympic Games and people. So congrats to you for that one.
Thank
So,
you.
so when I think, just to put it in a little bit of a time frame, like when you did the Winter Olympics project, but how long had you really been working on the product as it is kind of in its current shape and form?
Yeah, so I began in the research lab with Professor Steve Mann and my soon to be co founder, Chris Amity, who was Steve's master's student. So we began in 2001 with our early explorations of shifting brain state. Then the Olympics project was 2010. And from there, we said, okay, how can we make this real? And so we set about to create our own hardware and create our own applications. And by 2012, we had the first prototype Muse devices. And by 2014, we had the first real devices in market, actually in Best Buy Canada. You could buy
Nice.
a brain sensing headband that was going to help you meditate. That's what we finally landed
Yeah.
on as our use case. And over the last decade, there have been 500,000 devices sold all around the world to help people understand and improve their own brain.
That's so cool, and I'm like so fascinated. I have so many questions for you. What was the first reaction that you got from consumers when they started using the device as it is now? So as in the kind of the smaller headband, they're starting to use this to meditate. What sort of feedback were you getting from those first users?
I mean, for anybody who tried it, it was like, it was incredible. Like you'd slip on this thing and then you'd open your tablet or your iPhone and you'd focus on something and it would start to change. Or you'd close your eyes and relax and you would hear the sound move. And this like moment where you first were able to have your brain interact with technology and do something, it was mind blowing. It,
Yeah.
it, it still is. It's like, oh my God, that's my brain doing it. Um,
Yeah.
and from those like early explorations of that's my brain doing it, we evolved something that became, okay, this is me doing it. This is me being able to control my own brain, to shift my own brain, to like be relaxed, and then to get feedback to know that I'm there. And so we took the object of our attention from the technology we're changing or the light that was getting brighter or the music, and instead created experiences where people then went, wow, I'm focused now. I can feel that I'm focused. I'm getting feedback that I'm focused. My brain is doing it by shifting myself. Or I'm
Yeah.
relaxed now. My brain is doing it. My brain is shifting me, and I can have agency and control over myself.
Yeah. Is it really like just a light switch for them that they feel that they're relaxed, they see that kind of biofeedback that they're relaxed, and they get it? Or have you seen users also sort of think like, or do they? I don't know. Does it click? Is I guess the question there.
Yeah, so for a lot of people, the click is pretty quick. It's like, wow, that's me. For other people, it can take a little bit longer of like playing around with it until at some point you realize like, oh, that's that's me that's doing it. Um, so it depends with the education that you come in with, to the experience with the priming, like,
Yeah.
are you expecting that you can control this thing?
Right.
Um, and it takes practice, like learning to do anything, like learning to play basketball, and you're not going to get it in the hoop every single time, but the more you practice, the more you get it.
Right. So, what does it look like when somebody's training their brain to reach these more relaxed states, or maybe to reach these states of focus? Um, what does that look like in your process or in your onboarding into your app and your protocols for the person to really understand? Okay, I have to do this task. I get into that brain state, and then they can maybe get it quicker and quicker.
Sure. So with Muse, we have quite a number of different exercises inside of it. It's built a lot over the years. Our core experience is called mind meditation. So it's focused attention training with neurofeedback, that trains your brain to get into calm, focused states. And the kind of brilliance of this is that it feels very intuitive. The metaphor that we came up with early on was that your mind is like the weather. So when you're not focused, you're distracted, your brain's going all over the place, you hear it as stormy. And as you're able to bring your mind to quiet, focused attention, it quiets that storm. So you have this like really lovely experience of knowing that your brain is stormy, and then you start to explore the things that you can do to calm your mind down. You focus your attention on your breath, you slow your breathing, you just play around and shift things. And as you do, you get the reinforcement of the calm coming in. You get the reinforcement of the sound getting calmer and calmer, sort of subtly letting you know, like, yep, that's right, you're doing it. Keep going in that direction. And then when you're able to maintain your focused attention, you're calm for 5 seconds or more, you hear little birds tweeting. And that becomes incredibly rewarding. So that is like, classically conditioning your brain to say, when you hear this little chirp go, that's the right state. Keep staying there, reward. And so we end up working on multiple levels, both conscious and subconscious, to teach your brain what to do to enter into this calm, focused state. And then to
Okay.
reinforce your brain to being able to maintain the state for longer and longer periods of time.
I want to try this while I meditate because I want that positive biofeedback. I want to hear that bird chirping. I feel my brain already being like, I want that dopamine from
Yeah.
doing this. Do you think that people have kind of a weird dissociative moment when they hear that bird chirp where it's like they're almost watching their own brain relax? Is that maybe that's a too
Totally. I mean,
esoteric?
that's part of what you build in a meditation practice.
Yeah.
That is metacognition. So, most of us just go through the world with thoughts in our head, and we are thinking things,
Yeah.
and we don't know why, and we don't think about what we're thinking about, and therefore our brain is just dumped with garbage, and we have anxious, frustrating, repetitive thoughts that just swirl around in there. And once you do something like start a neurofeedback or a meditation practice, you learn the art of observing your own mind. And you are then able to notice, okay, I'm having this thought. It's an annoying thought about something I thought about already and I don't need it. I can shift my attention. I don't need to have that thought. And so, what you are building is exactly what you described, this incredible state called metacognition, that allows you to observe and monitor your own mind, your own thoughts, your own internal state, and use that information to then make better decisions about what goes on in your mind or your body.
Do you notice when people, I think, make this shift, or they think about feeling calm versus actually feeling calm? Do you see a difference in like the EEG readout of the Muse device?
Totally. So I think a lot of us are trying to be calm, and are not
100%.
calm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Internal storm is going off, but
Yes.
I'm like calm on the outside.
Totally. We assume because we're still or because our face looks placid that we're calm, but that's not the case.
Yeah.
Um, in the EEG, calm is quite obvious. It's a increase in alpha activity. There's a number of components to it. And thinking is an increase in beta activity. Anxious thinking is an increase in high beta activity. So when somebody's actually calm, you can see it in the EEG. And when somebody's actually calm, they can feel it in their body. But through the act of trying to get calm, it's like telling somebody to not think of a pink elephant. And so it's a process of discovery and down regulation of state, down regulation of brain state, down regulation of physiological state. It's a process of letting go of traumatic, frustrating, anxious thoughts. It's a very intentional process. Most of us don't just magically become calm. If you really want to truly enter deep calm, you need to create a process that works for you and then work through that process. And, tools like meditation, breath techniques, all of these things are processes that over time have been honed to get you into truly calm states.
The first use case you said is meditation and getting us into these calm states, also getting us into focus.
Yes.
How did your use cases evolve? Because I now know that you're looking into a bit more of this focus optimization and it's in sleep as well, which we can get there a little bit later because you have a second device. But tell me about the path of how the use cases developed, and also was it something that you saw from the users that they were using it in different ways?
Yeah. So initially, our device could do many, many, many things, and support your brain health and brain function in many ways, but you can't like go and sell something that does everything. So we started as a meditation tool, kind of as the thing that we knew was going to have an impact in people's lives, was going to work really well, and was going to improve people's brain health. And then our users were using it to help them fall asleep. And it turned out that the practice that we were teaching and the neurofeedback we were giving was really effective at helping people sleep better. So this was our kind of like initial design.
Yeah.
And then we came out with a second device, the Muse S, which was nice and soft, that you could wear to fall asleep. And
Okay.
then along with it, we created a set of guided experiences that actually helped you fall asleep faster. And then from there, we developed basically a sleep lab in your own bed. So Muse tracks your sleep as effectively as a sleep lab. It tracks the EEG of sleep and can stage your sleep as effectively as going to a sleep lab. And we give you real-time bio and neurofeedback that actually is designed to help your brain fall asleep faster. And studies have demonstrated it improves your latency to sleep onset, so how quickly you fall asleep. It can improve it by 55% and
Oh
can
wow.
improve your overall sleep quality by 20%. So that includes falling asleep faster, falling back asleep, better dreams, etc.
What, I guess, what's the average time that it now takes somebody who's using the Muse S to fall asleep? If they're like, when you say you reduce it 55%, is this somebody that took 20 minutes and now they're coming down to 10, or is it even shorter than that? Is it they hit the bed and they're sleeping in 60 seconds?
So it varies from person to person. The average individual, somebody's considered to fall asleep quickly if they fall asleep within 10 minutes.
Okay.
Others with insomnia, it can take hours and hours. This is just sort of how we think about it, like
Yeah.
clinically. Um, uh, so it really varies from person to person. We did a study with 160 people, and we gave them our Muse Go to Sleep tools, and we said, how long does it take you to fall asleep? So the average was 55% faster. So for some people for whom it took 3 hours, they might have been falling asleep much faster. For some people who fell asleep quickly anyways, they maybe didn't see any improvement because they fall asleep within 5 minutes one way or the other.
Gotcha.
Um, what we do know is that people who wake up in the night and then continue wearing the Muse and have the same experience that helps them fall asleep, they are able to again fall asleep much faster. And a lot of people have the problem of waking up in the middle of the night and then just staring at the ceiling and being awake. And so we wanted to help people both with the beginning of the night and the middle of the night sleep
Yeah.
issues. And it turns out that it's been really effective.
That's really cool, especially with the middle of the night wake ups. So, what does that look like? Because you have the biofeedback, and then I'm assuming you're making some nice calming noises or something that's signaling people to get to that state of calm, like you mentioned with the meditation. What does that look like?
Yeah, so we have quite a number of different interventions. The kind of most effective one is called the digital sleeping pill. And in the
I like
digital
it.
sleeping, yeah. So in the digital sleeping pill, you're choosing an audio to listen to. It might be a meditation, it might be just the noise of rain, it might be a sleep story. Everybody's different. People like to listen to different things, so you choose what works for you. And then as the device is tracking your EEG, it is predicting when you're going to switch from wakefulness into N1, which is the first stage of sleep. And as the prediction window indicates N1 is coming, it starts to shift the audio. So it's slowing it down, it's reducing the volume, it's shifting the characteristics of the audio in a way that actually allows your brain to start to let go and to fall asleep. And then if you've fallen asleep, it turns off the audio and you don't hear anything else if you until you wake back up again. And if you don't fall asleep, then it brings back the same experience to help you fall back asleep. So it's this really like beautiful experience of the audio guiding your brain into sleep. And then it tracks your sleep like a sleep lab throughout the whole night. And in the morning, you're able to see how your sleep was, how deep your deep sleep was. And we have a brand new experience coming out that's super cool and it deepens your deep sleep.
Ooh.
So in deep sleep, we have delta wave activity. So delta wave activity is this big, beautiful pulse of very slow waves that synchronize throughout your brain in sleep. And many people don't, we know they don't get enough deep sleep, but they also don't get deep enough deep sleep, especially as you age, your delta waves attenuate, they get smaller. And so the quality of your deep sleep decreases, which is problematic. And so we worked with labs in Canada, the US, and Spain in a joint project to be able to create this deep sleep stimulation with Muse The labs are using it for older adults with mild cognitive impairment,
Hmm.
hoping that by stimulating their delta waves in deep sleep, they can help to stave off some of the effects of MCI. And we're actually able to release it to the public very soon, starting in January.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
yeah, and so when you wear the Muse device, you'll just hear gentle sound pulses. You'll be asleep, so you won't hear it. It will be monitoring your brain to make sure that those gentle pulses don't wake you up. It's just
Hmm.
audio, just like a whoo, whoo, whoo sound. And
Hmm.
as you do it, it's timed to the upswing of your own delta wave. So it's actually phase
Mm.
locked with your sleep. And it will enhance your delta activity. And in doing so, theoretically deepen your deep sleep, allowing you not just to like have had a cool experience during the night, but actually hopefully be more refreshed and more able to function the next day.
That's incredible. I'm really
Yeah.
excited for the launch of this because that I feel like that's a really big differentiator for you guys. So congratulations on that. Is there anything else that you found that was particularly surprising, like patterns or brain states during sleep of participants in studies or also in users that are now using it more commercially that you just didn't really expect?
Sure. So, I mean, most people don't know what the brain looks like during sleep. So maybe
Yeah.
let's take a minute and talk about that.
Yes, please.
Yeah. So sleep is not just like this zone of nothingness that you go into
Hmm.
for six or
Yeah.
8 hours. Sleep is an incredibly complex process. It's a beautiful orchestration throughout the course of the night that is designed to refresh your brain, consolidate your memories, allow your emotions to, really become more consolidated and more effective for you the next day. It's a really great process. And
Hmm.
it begins with wakefulness. You then move into light sleep, and hopefully, in the first half of your night, you move into your deep sleep. So you'll have a cycle of deep sleep, deep sleep, light sleep, maybe a little REM, and then deep sleep.
Hmm.
And so the first half of your night is dominated, if you are sleeping well, dominated by deep sleep, maybe about 2.5 of those first 4 hours. And then the second half of your night is dominated by REM sleep. So you'll start with a little bit of deep sleep, but you'll go quickly up into REM, and you'll have multiple episodes of REM sleep marked by a little bit of sort of stage two sleep, or little peaks of awakeness. So you find more awakenings in the second half of your night, which is
Hmm.
fine because we as creatures need to be able to make sure there's everything safe and then go back
Hmm.
into sleep. And so a classic night of sleep looks like about 6 cycles, 5, 6, 7 cycles of deep sleep to light sleep, and then deep sleep to REM sleep, light sleep, REM sleep, light sleep. Um, and so this is like this very beautiful, predictable orchestration that our brain is supposed to go through. And we'll look at people in sleep studies, and their night sleep will pop up, and I'll be like, "That was a textbook night sleep. That's phenomenal." And that's like 1 out of 5 people that we.
Okay. I'm glad to hear that because I think we all think that I don't know, that maybe that we're good sleepers or we're not good sleepers. So I'm glad that the majority there are not good sleepers, or at least not textbook.
Yeah, it's not textbook. Like when you look at a textbook, you're like, wow, like that person actually got textbook sleep. It's 7 hours
Yeah.
and 35 minutes. They have 6 cycles that we can count. Like, it's beautiful.
Hmm.
And then you look at other people and you're like, wow, they started in REM. Was that just a mistake? No, I'm looking 5 nights in, and every night they start in
Oh,
REM.
interesting.
That's a sleep disorder. That's fascinating. Or this
Mm.
person has just very, very tiny segments of deep sleep. Or why are they having, more REM in the first half of their night? Or why is this night's sleep consistently only 4.5 to 5.5 hours?
Hmm.
So the vast majority of people have sleep that's not following the textbook. And that's not because there's something wrong with their brain, it's because we are not prioritizing our sleep. We're not
Hmm.
creating the proper construct for us to go to bed at the same time every night, to get 7 or 8 hours of time in our bed to sleep. We're not down regulating our nervous systems beforehand. We had coffee too late, so our brain just
Yeah.
couldn't shut off.
Hmm.
We have a bunch of bad habits that contribute to us sleeping poorly. And when we do that, we don't set our brains up for the optimal amount of success the next day.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, we ruin it with phones in the bedroom, all this blue light, scrolling through TikTok, Instagram before going to bed. Just, yeah, we definitely don't set ourselves up for success. When someone's been using the Muse device for some time, they're optimizing their sleep, they're getting good sleep. Let's say they've been using it for like a month or so. Does that training that they've been doing with the Muse device carry on? So if you're traveling and you forgot your device and now do you have an equally good night's sleep?
Yeah, I mean, the goal is to teach someone to fish. The goal is to train you. So if you start as a person who's anxious, who has insomnia, who doesn't really know how to sleep, you probably have a lot of fear about sleeping. So as you're lying there in bed, your mind is racing, and a lot of those racing thoughts are going to be, oh no, I'm not sleeping well. It's going to be stressful for me the next day. I'm not going to do
Mm-hmm.
well my
Mm-hmm.
presentation. This
Yep.
is sounding
Yep.
familiar. And all of those anxious thoughts are just robbing you of sleep. And then you start generating stories like, I'm a bad sleeper, sleeping sucks for me. I don't know how to fix my sleep, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And so when you start the process of reversing these things, when you do things like focus attention meditation training during the day with neurofeedback, and you actually learn how to quiet your mind. So in those moments when you're lying there with your mind racing, you can be like, oh, I don't need to think about that thought. Oh, that doesn't matter either. I can focus my attention on my breath.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you've like downregulated your nervous system with some breath exercises because you know how to do that. And then you start to fall asleep and sleep becomes much easier.
Yeah.
And then you learn this, you can use the sleep tools to retrain your circadian rhythms so that your brain now recognizes that when you lie on the pillow and you're about to go to sleep, it's taught you that that's a possibility. It's taught your brain to say, okay, when you're lying on the pillow with your eyes closed, within 5 minutes, we're going to shut you down and do this thing. And then your body practices sleeping and sleeping throughout the night. And so it creates a construct for your body to then self regulate. And then when you don't have the device, know, be confident, understand that you can still sleep really well. And so you start to. And that skill that you learned with the Muse throughout the day of being able to quiet your mind and, calm your body, you start to do that on your own throughout the day without the device. And so it really does teach you how to self-regulate in a way that is incredibly powerful for our kind of internal habits.
Yeah. What's happening to somebody who really just can't calm down? Like what do you see on the Muse device when you have somebody that's just really like they're trying to listen, they're trying to adopt this, but their brain is really fighting them. What does that look like in the device? And is it possible that there's like a group of people that just really have a harder time kind of accessing calm?
Yeah. So for some people, it's easy to access calm. For some people, it's really difficult. And if you, as a woman, I know that every month I will reliably go through a period of time in which I feel more anxious and frustrated and irritable for no apparent reason. And it is harder for me to regain calm. And that is simply a
Yes.
hormonal cycle. And, as a woman who's 46, we start to feel those effects in a different way with
Yep.
perimenopause. And so that sensation of being able to be someone who can easily gain calm and then all of a sudden somebody who can't really gave me empathy to the vast many people in this world whose nervous systems are not as easily able to access calm, either because of just how you're wired at birth or traumatic experiences that have ramped your hypervigilance systems and ramped your nervous system and made it harder for you to downregulate.
Yeah.
And in each of these cases, applying kind of regimented tools and skills can teach your nervous system to calm down. Maybe it's going to be much easier for one person to do it than another. But in each case, there's a range of psychotherapeutic, bio and neurofeedback, meditation. There's a range of practices that might feel hard or annoying to do, but as you apply them and you stick with them and you do them, you will get better. You will downregulate. you will be able to start to shift your nervous system's set point. Um,
Mm-hmm.
just for some people, it's harder. And then in terms of what we see in the Muse, so you'd experience as somebody who, feels very stormy at first. But as you start to explore the different prompts and the techniques and the breathing practices, you will find the thing that calms the storm. And as you do, you'll be like, oh, I got there for a moment. That was really
Mm-hmm.
good. I want to do that again. And it becomes
Mm.
rewarding to, keep
Yeah.
returning to that state.
Are users also using this? Okay, so we talked about meditation, we talked about sleep, but are they also using the Muse to increase, just kind of cognitive effort while they're working and get biofeedback of like, okay, you're instead of being focused on being calm, it's like you're focused, you're locked in. This is a good state to be in to be more productive. Is that also something that you're using to train the brain?
Totally, totally. So um, as I said, Muse has a range of things that
Yeah.
it does, and one of them is training your attention and training your prefrontal cortex. So Muse at its core, it's an entire brain training platform.
Hmm.
And our latest device, the Muse S Athena, actually
Hmm.
has a second technology in it called FNIRS, Functional
Hmm.
Near Infrared Spectroscopy. And that is training your prefrontal cortex, which is the seat of your attention, like the thing that we really use to hone and guide our attention. So it's training your prefrontal cortex to upregulate its blood flow and its oxygen consumption
Hmm.
and to be able to focus longer and better. So both with the meditation neurofeedback, that's a form of focused attention training, and it really plays out when you're working. You'll
Hmm.
say that like you're working on a document, and in the past you would have gotten distracted and your mind would have wandered elsewhere. But now after using Muse for focused attention training, like you're sticking with it and you're just
Hmm.
staying with it. You're noticing your distractions, you're not giving into them, and you're coming back to the object of your attention, the work that
Hmm.
you're doing. And then with our prefrontal cortex oxygenation neurofeedback, that's another way to train your brain and the hardware, the apparatus of your brain that's doing the attention to be able to sustain and be effective for longer.
So are people wearing the Muse then from the moment they wake up, well, and then throughout the entire night? Is that what you're doing?
No, 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 no. I hope not. I mean, in research studies, they are,
In research,
but
yeah.
not in. So there's like hundreds of research studies running with Muse with different institutions. But no, like the common person, the average, user, you're using it just through the day for a few minutes for your focused attention training, for a
Hmm.
few minutes of your prefrontal cortex neurofeedback, and that's just like a 3 or 5 minute exercise. It's really
Oh,
short.
okay.
And then if you have sleep issues, you're wearing the Muse tonight at sleep to sleep. If you don't have sleep issues, then you don't have to do that. So,
Okay.
it's just a thing that you're using for a few minutes during the day to train your brain, and then the skill that you build
Mm,
carries with you throughout the day.
okay. I love that because I do think having a headband on like this could be uncomfortable, may not be something that people want to wear all the time, but it's really amazing that yeah, if you can just do 3 to 5 minutes and like tack it on while you're doing your meditation every day, that you get those effects. I want to talk a little bit more about focus because as someone with ADHD that can benefit from hyper focus from time to time, but also not. Do you see a difference in I guess, also the EEG and the FNIRS? I don't know if I did that one right. When you see somebody enter in, have you looked at that? Have you looked at hyper focus versus focus or healthy focus? Is that something, or maybe that's something that's coming?
Yeah, that's actually not something that I've seen a research study on. It's a great question and one that I should put to our research partners.
Yes, I would love to see that, but of course, it is something that it's a little bit hard to access hyper focus. So it would be a difficult study to do, but I'd be very curious if those two look different or if they look the same. And when you do see focus, is it a spectrum, or is I picture it like a I don't know, like a speedometer of a car where it's just like, here's not focused, here's focused. I think that's all we have. But what does it really look like when you're looking at the scans?
So it's interesting when you look at the brain of somebody with ADD or ADHD, it is quite obvious.
Hmm.
And I went in my 20s to get an ADD diagnosis because it was quite obvious to me and everybody around me that that's what was going on.
Hmm.
And I paid a few $1,000s for it. And they had me fill out a million questionnaires. Was your room always a mess as a child? Could you find your mittens? And it was like, clearly obvious by every single answer that this was a
Yeah,
kid that
yeah.
had ADD. Did you start 7 businesses? Like,
Yes.
um, does it feel like you've got a motor in there and you just always have to be doing something and your brain won't stop? Yes, 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 yes,
Hmm.
yes, yes. And then at the end of the assessment, they said, well, you don't have ADD. And I was like, what? They're like, well, you're super high functioning. You run a company, you do all these things, you have a, great degree. Um, you've missed the definition. Sorry.
Mm.
And then when I looked back at my EEG scans from then, with what I know now, and we have partners that actually build tools for ADD. So there's a company called MindLift, and they make focused attention neurofeedback
Mm.
training tools for clinicians. Um, and with that lens on, I went back and I looked at my EEG from my 20s, and it was so clear that that was the brain of somebody with ADD. It was so
Oh,
incredibly obvious. I had the classic hallmarks in my brain map of like low beta, high
mm.
theta. You could see the brain regions that were associated with it. And like, what I know now, it's like that's an ADD brain.
Hmm. Hmm.
I've actually never told this story out loud anywhere except to like a
Oh,
friend. Um,
I feel very privileged that you shared
yeah.
this because that's very, very cool. And now I hope that they incorporate the Muse into some diagnostics. Is that some, I don't want to, I want you to keep going with your story, but is that something that's planned?
So
Maybe.
Muse is not a medical device. We can't
Okay.
officially diagnose or treat any disease. We do fall into the general wellness category of the FDA, which allows you to um, improve your quality of life and support your living while existing with a condition.
Hmm.
However, on the research side, Muse is used for research in autism, Parkinson's,
Mm.
ADD, Alzheimer's, MCI, rare genetic conditions. So we have literally hundreds of research partners. There have been over 200 papers published with Muse. Um, and, that is leading us towards the ability to actually begin to look at what a brain looks like in all of these different conditions and
Hmm.
create tools that allow us to more effectively identify. So, I mean, one of the dreams is, can you use the Muse to identify MCI?
Yeah.
Um, if you ask me, I can look at data and it can be quite obvious in somebody's EEG that there is something wrong.
Hmm.
Have we, we haven't gone down the FDA pathway to say, well, yes, can reliably diagnose MCI. Um,
Hmm.
but that's something that will probably evolve over the years. And there's a few different concussion studies going with Muse, looking at the EEG of, so they've baselined children and professional football players looking at their EEG. And then they repeat the studies regularly to see if there's a shift, and they repeat the study if there's immediately been a hit to the head to be able to
Mm.
identify the EEG of concussion and what that looks
Hmm.
like. So there's a lot of work going on in this domain. Though today Muse is a consumer tool
Hmm.
with scores and feedback to help you understand your own brain, but not make any official diagnoses.
I Okay, I understand. I built a medical device. I've been in this space before too, and I understand the pain of going down that path. And so, it's very cool to create something that's consumer tech that you're actually getting used in these studies. Because even though maybe in the future this is something that does develop into a medical device, you are gaining a lot of those insights, which can then translate into consumer tech as well. Do you think there's something that we're missing in I think if you could wave a magic wand and measure everything about the brain, what are we missing in consumer tech right now when it comes to looking at the brain when we want to like optimize for focus and calm?
Okay, so I mean, we're right at the beginning. These are just
Yeah.
like one of the very first technologies that can give any consumer insight into their own brain. Um, and so we started with EEG and basic band powers, alpha, beta, theta. We then moved into focused attention, which is not band power based. And then we added the FNIRS and we added the sleep. So we have, many different modes to help you see the brain from different angles, and have developed different metrics. So one of the metrics we offer is alpha peak frequency,
Okay.
which looks at the amplitude, not just the amplitude, which is what's in your alpha recharge score, but also your own peak frequency of alpha, which is a measure of one of the measures of cognitive function. So, we started to offer these metrics. Coming up, when I think about like what's on the immediate horizon, we're able to get a different kind of metric called an ERP, an event related potential. So when you stimulate the brain, it responds reliably with different responses. One of them is the P300, 300 milliseconds after a stimulus. And that is an incredibly good marker for your brain health and your brain's ability to all respond at one time. So there's a stimulus. How quickly does your brain respond? It's like trying to throw a ball at someone, and it's like, how quickly do they catch it? Is it in the
Okay.
right place? Do they understand where they are in space? Does their hand form the right way to catch that ball? There's so many things in somebody catching a ball that really give you insight into their physical and cognitive health. And so an ERP is kind of like that. It's how does your brain all respond all in the right way at the right time with the right, you know, thrust,
Yeah.
um, amplitude, enthusiasm to the stimulus. Do you even notice the stimulus is there? How much of your brain knows notice the stimulus? How much of it responds slowly versus quickly? So that's an incredibly good tool to be able to mark the brain and the cognitive function. That's a tool that we have, that we deliver to our researchers, and pretty soon it's something that we'll also be able to deliver to consumers, to be able to use to track your brain and its function. Um, so yeah, I mean, there's a whole world of neuroscience to still incorporate and ingest into Muse and to offer. But this we've built a base platform that does pretty incredible things. And as we are able to develop our capabilities with our research partners, immediately they then come into our consumer app.
Is there, so when you're talking about the ERP and this thing that's going to be coming soon, is this also something that is trainable?
Totally.
Cool. Okay. Because I would love to, like, especially if that's an indicator of mild cognitive impairment and then it's something you can train and you can see and you can get that biofeedback, that's going to be super transformative. Do you think there's really a limit on our ability to train the brain? Um, because I know a lot of people still hold some beliefs and myths that we're born with only a certain number of neurons and our neurons don't even regenerate and these things that have been proved false since then. But you and I both know we have neuroplasticity. But do you feel that there is a limit on this, or is it limitless?
I think we don't know. I mean, we see amazing examples of people who are able to remember extraordinary numbers of digits, or people who play basketball amazingly, or people who lift lots of weights. And part of it is that their physiology was set up in such a way that made this easy for them. And part of it is that they spent a lot of hours doing something. I mean,
Yeah.
I can't reliably get the ball into the hoop beautifully every time. Yes, I'm short, so I probably am not like well set up to be a basketball player. But if I spent a lot of hours practicing, I could get that ball in the hoop repeatedly every single time. You know, I started going to the gym, unfortunately, not that long ago. And I always thought I was someone who was kind of strong. And then my girlfriend's like, no, we're going to go to the gym and you're going to take this class and it's going to hurt and you're going to keep going.
Yeah.
And I became really so much stronger. And I was like, wow, I can just keep doing this. It was amazing. So I think within any one of us, if we spend the time and apply ourselves and apply the right tools and techniques, there's incredible gains that we can make. We just haven't, nobody's dragged us to the gym. Nobody's told us to sit there and like throw a ball into the basket and coach us how to do it. So I think we don't know what the limits are yet.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think there's a lot of potential there for brain training and there's a hunger for it too because I know people are looking for these types of tools and we had things like luminosity. Oh, that was like so many ages ago, where you're just kind of solving puzzles, but it becomes a little too repetitive. At least that's what I found with luminosity. So I think there has to be like a versatility to that brain training too. Just like at the gym, we get bored if we're just doing the same thing over and over.
Yeah, and there's going to be plateaus. For some people, there's only as
True.
far as you can go, but we don't yet know what that is. And I think, as we look at a balanced life, do you want to be a pro basketball player and that's what you spend 100 hours percent of your time doing?
Yeah.
For some people, that'll be incredible. For the rest of us, do you just want to be a little bit better here, here, and here? Or do you want to just be able to shoot hoops with your kid and not be embarrassed? Good enough. Great. Spend a little bit of time doing this, and you'll feel some improvement, and life will feel a little better.
Yeah. If you could only track one metric about the brain, what would you choose?
It's a great question. I'm going to go with the P300 because that was
Okay.
just on my mind. Um, and because it is such a great indicator of how well everything is working together. So our brain, as you strengthen, our brain is a network. Our brain has to work together effectively. Our visual cortex needs to be able to see something and then process that image and then send it to our thalamus, who then relays it to, multiple parts of our brain. Brings it into our conscious awareness. Our attention needs to be able to move towards it. And all of that has to happen at lightning speed in this beautiful coordination. And
Yeah.
to me, the P300 gives you an indication of if that is all working together beautifully.
Yeah, that's also like it's just a very kind of like holistic measurement as well. So my last question for you today, since we're coming up on the hour, it goes by so quickly. I'm always so surprised.
That's another
What?
neural phenomenon, the sensation of time
Yes,
passing slowly or quickly. Yes.
yes. I mean, exactly. It's like, yeah. I mean, time flies when you're having fun, I guess. um, what what have you found have been really like the best practices for brain training that you've incorporated into the whole kind of Muse experience?
Yep. So one is like any kind of training, do it regularly. So we have incorporated tools and techniques to be consistent. It's holistic so that, you can not just focus on training one thing to get better at this one little thing, but train your focused attention, which is going to have massive impacts across your life. Train your sleep, that's going to have impact. Train your blood flow, that's going to have impact. So it's sort of a 360 training. Um, and then bio and neurofeedback give your brain reinforcement. So part of it is teaching you what to do so that you have skills that you can apply. And part of it is the subconscious reinforcement and teaching. So your brain just knows, right, this is the thing I do. I'll do it better. This is the thing I do. Um, so it's, a blend of those set of techniques that I think makes it really effective, and then making things super short. So you don't have to commit
Yeah.
to massive amounts of time to do something. Just do this short thing, see the impact, move on, do it again the next
Yeah.
day.
Yeah. Yeah. I just had on my last live podcast the fitness phenomenon. It was Jamie Brunkiss. He did the 8-minute abs video. I don't know if you remember this era, but it was, the first viral video. And I almost feel like this is kind of like the 8-minute brain training.
Yeah,
It's short or even shorter. You said 3 minutes, 5 minutes, just do it every day, get it done. And it is this consistency that builds all of the positive effects.
you got it.
So, where can people find you? Where can they find the Muse device? Do you ship worldwide? And yeah, so how can people get in touch with you?
Yep, we ship worldwide. You can find Muse at choosemuse.com, CHOOSEMUSE, choosemuse.com. And you can find me and Muse on all the socials at choosemuse.
Awesome. Cool. I'll drop all of that also in the show notes when we do the recap of the episode. But Ariel, it was super nice to chat with you about this. I love the product. I can't wait to try it, and especially with all the new things you're going to be rolling out. So thank you so much for sharing your morning, my afternoon, and all of your knowledge with us today.
Oh, my joy and pleasure. It was a ton of fun.
Thanks so much. And we'll hopefully chat soon.